All right, everybody, so welcome back to another episode of Colton Posey Fishing. Today we're going to be going over my top 3 finesse baits for April. And April is a very, very special time, really, to be on the water, because you can fish all 3 parts of the spawn. So, you know, maybe if you're new to bass fishing or something, you don't understand what I mean by the 3 phases of the spawn. What I mean is, typically your northern end of your lake is going to be the shallowest, and your southern end is going to be the deepest. So typically the water heats up in the northern end. In return, those fish typically start spawning before they do in the southern end of your lake. So either case, this is kind of going to cover like all 3 bases, whether you're fishing for pre-spawn, spawn, or post-spawn fish. And as I always say, don't get too hung up on the baits. It's the reason that I choose the baits, okay? So, you know, if you hear me talking about a specific bait and you're like, well, I wonder if this would work. It may, so try it. Make sure to try it, okay? Because you never know. You can always find something, you know, a little different. So, like I always say in bass fishing, make sure to ask why, not necessarily, you know, what. Because, you know, you get that a lot. You know, what'd you catch them on, or where'd you catch them, or blah, blah, blah. That's not necessarily as important as why, because you can kind of mimic that all around your lake. But either way, stay tuned. It's something you don't want to miss. All right, so, you know, if the video helps you at all, make sure to like. Helps me out a whole lot. Subscribe. I got you covered when it comes to anything bass fishing. Comment down below if you ever have any questions or just something you want to add, or you just want to talk bass fishing. I love hearing from you guys. So talking about the first one, this is definitely going to be a hard one to beat when it comes to finesse lures this time of year, because, you know, a lot of your fish are moving up very, very shallow right now. Even your fish that are on your pockets or even on your main lake points, they're still going to be pretty shallow. We've experienced a lot of rain here in the south, so the lakes are coming up. There's a lot of new stuff in the water, so those fish typically are attracted to that new stuff, and they kind of want to get in their areas where they're going to get close to spawn. But that's going to be a shaky head, okay? Some people call it a shaking head or a shaky head, but you know, either way, it's a ball head basically. And I use the screw lock ones by Spot Sticker, and the 90-degree line tie is a huge thing for me, in my opinion. I love the 90-degree line tie. It just comes through stuff a lot easier, and I'm using the Zoom Z3 Edge worm. This is a green, pumpkin, and blue. You know, use whatever colors you prefer and all that stuff. It's really a confidence thing more than anything, unless, you know, you got real dirty water. But I'm typically going to pick that shaky head up, especially if I'm fishing a spotted bass fishery. It's well known here close to my home lake that, you know, if you want to go and just catch a fish or a bunch of fish, then you can typically pick up a shaky head and do that, whether they're under docks, suspended, or whether they're on points, or whether they're shallow, run-ins, whatever. It doesn't matter. They're typically going to hit a shaky head. And the way that I work this bait is super simple. When you cast that bait out there, if I'm targeting, let's just say, suspended fish, because most of you may not fish for suspended fish with a shaky head. A lot of people don't, but they're typically going to hit that bait on that fall. And depending on how you rig the bait, you can cause it to spiral or you can cause it to fall straight down. But either way, in either case, let's say I'm just targeting suspended fish, okay? I throw that bait out there, and as that bait hits the water and it's falling on slack line, when it gets done falling to the depth that I prefer it, I will click the bell and I will just shake the rod, reel up my slack, shake the rod, and I'm just popping that bait up and letting it fall. Popping that bait up, letting it fall, and reeling up the slack at the same time. And a lot of times you can trigger your strikes just like that. Now, the main way that people use this, super simple. You throw it out there, you let it fall, hit bottom, if it makes it to bottom. A lot of times they hit these baits, you know, as they're falling. But either case, once it hits bottom, I'm going to leave just a little bit of slack in my line, and I'm going to sit there and I'm going to shake my rod pretty aggressively, okay? I'm typically going to shake this rod, you know, at about like that. Now, this is 7-foot medium heavy. Use whatever you feel comfortable with, but you know, you're just going to shake that rod on slack line. You're going to reel up your slack, drag it a little bit, shake that rod a little bit, and you know, when that bait's sitting on bottom, the tail and stuff is just kind of going to kick in place, and it just creates a little bit of action, and spotted bass can't stand it, neither can largemouth. It's a super simple technique. You want to carry your kids out fishing, or maybe you're a veteran angler. Either way, you just want to catch a bunch of fish, pick up the shaky head. Now, another one that I want to talk about, it's similar, but it's different. And what I'm doing is I have got a robo worm, okay? This is just the regular robo worm, chartreuse belly, green pumpkin back, but I've got that VMC ball Neko rig weight nail weight type thing. But either way, this is a 5/16 ounce. And then I have got this thing rigged, not dead in the middle, but just a little slightly towards the head, as you can see. And what this bait does is I can create two different actions. Okay, it'll work like a Neko rig, where because it basically is a Neko rig, but I rig it just a little bit higher than in the middle and sideways. Obviously, if you see it, I hook it like directly through the side, just like that. But either case, the bait's going to fall straight down. As it falls, I can twitch that bait and cause it to work like a wacky rig, okay? Or once it hits bottom, I can keep my line tight and just barely scoot that bait across the bottom. It'll kind of work like a wacky rig going across the bottom, or you can pop it up depending on your water temperatures and how the fish want the bait. But it's a super simple technique. The hardest part is getting that nail weight in the head of that worm without going through the side of the worm and stuff like that. So you got to be very, very careful when you're putting it in there, but just try to get it as straight as you can. And then instead of hooking that hook right in the middle of the bait, move it just slightly towards the head, just a little bit past the maybe 1/4 of an inch past the middle of the bait towards the head or the nail weight, and I guarantee you'll get a lot more bites. And it's really, really good. You can use any color you want, but it's really, really good for spawning fish. So if you're finding fish on beds right now, that's a good little technique right there. Just hang out, you know, right on the fish's bed, cause a lot of disruption, get them angry, get them to bite the bait. But either way, try that little bait out. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Now, I'll save this one for last because you're probably gonna hear about this bait probably just about every time because it's just still very productive right now. But either way, you know, that's going to be your smaller swim baits, your 3-inch swim baits. There's a couple different ways that I run it. I'm going to run it with that 3/8 ounce swim bait head. You can also run it with the underspins. There's just multiple different ways you can run it, but right now the most productive way that I've found to run that bait is simply just, you know, straight up on a swim bait head, and I'm making super long casts. It doesn't matter if it's muddy water, it doesn't matter if it's clean, clear water. Adjust your colors accordingly. But you know, a lot of these fish in these spotted bass fisheries and largemouth fisheries, you know, you may be just now experiencing the shad spawn. That is a killer bait right there. You will catch a ton of fish on that bait. But whatever brand you choose to use, I use the Mayor. I just have really, really good luck on the Mayor and the 6 Sense Divine. But you know, either way, the swim bait, that is just a great choice to cover a lot of water, catch a lot of fish. And guys, if the video helps you at all, make sure to like, subscribe. I got you covered when it comes to anything bass fishing. Comment down below if you have any questions, anything you want to add. Maybe you got a finesse bait that you really, really like that you want to share with the folks at home. You know, drop a comment down below. And one thing that I did want to add that I forgot all about, because I kind of wanted to give it as a little, just a little bonus, but a weightless trick worm, guys. If you haven't fished with a weightless trick worm during the spring, give it a try. One of the most famous colors is the bubblegum, the pink finesse worm. It's a great choice. You can catch a lot of fish off a pink bubblegum worm. Just Texas rig it. If you've got kids and you want to carry them to a pond or a lake or something like that to catch a lot of fish and have a lot of fun, watch these fish come up and blow up on the surface, give that Texas rig bubblegum worm a try. But either way, guys, I hope the video helped you. See you next time.